YS channel, everybody. Before we get on with today's content, please drop a like, subscribe, or follow the channel. It really helps us out, and we really appreciate it. Now on to the content. Alright, everybody, so after our last review, going over alien documentaries, we just pretty much got exhausted doing that, so this time we're going to take a deep dive into 9/11 conspiracies with two movies for the price of one. So, over the next several, segments we're going to record, we're going to review Michael Moore's Fahrenheit 9/11, and then there's another documentary called Loose Change, which is often associated with Alex Jones and the InfoWars people. So stick with us and stay tuned. And then one last thing before we really get into the meat and potatoes here. It is amazing how much Michael Moore and Alex Jones are pretty much polar opposites of each other. However, at the same time, you know, when they get their shit right, their shit is spot on. Now, I do have to put this little disclaimer out there. Alex Jones did not direct Loose Change. His company co-produced what is known as the Final Cut, which is like Loose Change 3rd edition. So it's been a weird movie. There's like multiple cuts, multiple versions. So just bear with us. And now we're going to start comparing both movies, since they have, how would you say, they cover very similar content. Alright, so over part one of the review, we're going to go over what is essentially background information, or the prelude, or the stuff that leads up to the, the unfortunate attacks. Like all the background information, like the Bush family to the Bin Ladens, government programs, military exercises that were preparing for such a specific event, how these things got overlooked, whether you think it was conveniently overlooked, or it was just all the stars just lined up in the right place at the right time on the wrong day kind of deal. Alright, so for this upcoming clip here, as we mentioned before, we're doing a review of two movies. So this is from Fahrenheit 9/11. This is around the 18.5-minute mark. Basically, Michael Moore's whole point of things that kind of led up to 9/11 and the immediate after facts traces back to the Bush family connections with the Saudis and the Bin Ladens. So let's just go over this clip real fast.
He had cut terrorism funding from the FBI. Or perhaps he just should have read the security briefing that was given to him on August 6, 2001, which said that Osama bin Laden was planning to
that is kind of damning
by hijacking airplanes.
If what Michael Moore is presenting isn't, I would just say, selective nitpicking here.
I believe the title was Bin Laden Determined to Attack Inside the United States.
A report like that might make some men jump, but as in days past,
honestly, this part here is just set up to make him look like a dimwit. And you may have your own personal opinions about President W. Bush,
was he thinking,
but it's kind of clear to me the intention of this documentary is
screwed me.
meant to make him look bad,
Was it the guy
which again, he does a lot of it that on his own, but
was it that group of religious fundamentalists who visited my state when I was governor?
yeah, the Saudi and Bin Laden connection.
Saudis.
Whatever your take is on that,
Was them. I think I better blame it on this guy.
it's not a good look when you have deep pockets, or not deep pockets, deep business relations and connections with a group of people that have ties and may or may not provide direct funding to the organizations that planned and executed 9/11. I have to just sit here and say, like, that's not a good look, whether or not that's all coincidental. But it's not a good look altogether. Alright, so for this upcoming clip here, basically Michael Moore throughout Fahrenheit 9/11 is trying to make the audience connect the dots between the Bush family, Bin Laden family, and I guess you could just throw in the Saudi royal family if you want to. They have business and a working relationship together. The Saudi family does have investments with businesses that the Bush family has investments with, kind of deal. So the dots are connecting, because this upcoming clip here explains the immediate aftermath of 9/11 with the grounding of their airplanes. However, there is a notable exception. So let's get right into it.
In the days following September 11th, all commercial and private airline
Yeah, I remember that happening.
The FAA has taken the action to close all of the airports in the United States.
Even grounding the president's father, former President Bush, on a flight forced to land in Milwaukee.
Thousands
Yeah,
of
that's
travelers were stranded,
clusterfuck.
among them Ricky Martin, due to appear at tonight's Latin Grammy Awards.
Not
Yeah,
even
fuck
Ricky
Ricky Martin.
Martin could fly. But really, who wanted to fly? No one. Except the Bin
Yeah.
Ladens. It turns out that the White House approved planes to pick up the Bin Ladens.
Yeah, this actually did happen. Whether or not you're a
6 private
conspiracy
jets and nearly 2
or not
dozen
conspiracy
commercial
person,
planes.
everything he's
Carried
discussing
the
here
Saudis
did
and
happen.
Bin Ladens out of the U.S. after September 13th. In all, 142 Saudis, including 24 members of the Bin Laden family, were allowed to leave the country.
Osama's
I mean,
portrayed as the bad apple, the black sheep in
it is
the
kind of weird that
cut off all relationships.
the Bin Laden family and the Saudi royal family was granted an exception during these chaotic times to
Has had contact with other family members?
use private air travel and get out of the country.
Just before 9/11,
You know, again,
Osama's sons got married in
you don't have to be a
Afghanistan.
super conspiracy
Several
nut
family members showed
to
up
kind of
as
connect
well.
some dots here.
That's right. So
You know, like, you don't need Michael Moore to do this for you.
That's really an
but-
exaggeration.
It is a rather, how would you say, it's not a good look. Alright, so we're going to conclude this part one, I guess, review and reaction with a clip from Loose Change. I've been saying before, this is a double review, just because both movies do really just touch on the same subject. However, Loose Change differs slightly from Fahrenheit 9/11 in that instead of just single-handedly just attacking the Bush family, they take basically a wider swipe across multiple people and agencies. However, there's a lot of similarities, as we're going to see in this upcoming clip here.
Used hundreds of different payphones and cell phones,
Oh, look, it's
often with prepaid
Robin
calling
Miller.
cards that are extremely
I think
difficult
some of you are going to
trace.
recognize him.
And they made sure that all the money sent to them to fund their attacks was wired in small amounts to avoid detection.
Oh, yeah.
Small amounts. Lieutenant General Mahmoud Ahmed, the director of the Pakistani Inter-Services Intelligence Agency,
Pakistan.
the ISI, was reported to have wired $100,000 to Muhammad Atta in August 2001. This transfer was facilitated by Saeed Sheikh, the man who allegedly kidnapped and murdered Wall Street Journal reporter Daniel
Oh, yeah, they
Pearl,
cut that dude's
who
head
was
off.
investigating the ties between the ISI and Islamic militants.
And the Pakistanis, of course, if you know your history, have only been a couple of degrees of separation away from the so-called Al-Qaeda hijackers.
And that's your connection,
The
everybody.
ISI has had a long-standing relationship with the Central Intelligence Agency, dating back to the 1980s with the establishment of the Mujahideen in Afghanistan, which would evolve into Al-Qaeda.
I focus in on the wire
Oh, yeah.
transfer.
There you have it, everybody.
General Mahmoud.
So, now this information would come out years after the release of both these movies. You know, Bin Laden was found in Pakistan. So, I won't dive too much into that part. However, you know, Pakistan kind of played a low-key role here. Again, that general guy he was discussing, he was helping bankroll, you know, the people responsible for carrying out the 9/11 hijackings. And again, what I find is interesting is the connection between all these agencies and parties. And then when we do part 2, we're gonna, I guess, explain more of the motives for wanting to carry out such an event. Whereas right now we're just kind of going into the background a little bit, as in pointing out the connections between the Saudis, Bin Ladens, and other parties, and their connections they may have had with, say, you know, I guess the Bush family and any other business or agency connection inside and outside the United States that has some kind of underlying interest in the events at hand here. So, whatever you all believe, these movies do bring up some interesting points. And as you're going to see as we dig deeper into the review and analysis, some of them are very far-fetched and just utter bullshit. Alright everybody, so this is just going to wrap up the part 1 review here, where we explore the possible connections between some of the parties and agencies leading up, to 9/11. Both loose change, I would say to a lesser extent, and then Michael Moore's Fahrenheit 9/11 do touch on these. Now, I'm going to throw out a little disclaimer here. Depending on which version of loose change you watch, certain ones go into more detail than other ones. We're reviewing what is known as the final cut, whereas the previous version of it does actually explain the connection between Larry Silverstein, who pretty much, I guess, he's the head of the agency or entity that took out an insurance policy, on the whole World Trade Center site, and then there's some mysterious, how would you say, activities regarding the timing of adjustments to the insurance, and the property value, kind of coincidentally right before this all took place. But that isn't, unfortunately, that's in a different version of loose change. But again, part 2, you're going to see more of the conspiracy side of things here, and we appreciate you all just sticking with us and watching as we review these documentaries. Until next time.